When thinking of the worst class in Terraria, there's no class more deserving than mage. No weapons early game, using pre-boss armor in hard mode, then getting 4-shot by any boss. Like, I would love to call this class a glass cannon, but that would actually require me to do damage in the first place. So, with all these handicaps, is it even possible for someone like me to beat this challenge before going completely insane? No! This challenge actually starts off as a pacifist run, because unlike other classes like melee with its defense, ranger with its DPS, mage gives absolutely nothing except the idea to do damage. Quickly, I'd like to say, if you're enjoying this video, please consider subscribing because it's free and you probably won't see my videos again otherwise. Okay, back to the video. Down in the caves, I had to develop this new strategy which I call which stands for dodging literally every fight because I have no weapons. In other words, I just boxed in every enemy and hoped for the best. And if you're wondering what I did against worms, I did nothing. You may be asking why I'm mining in the first place. It's actually for my first weapon, which is a gem staff. But you know what there isn't a lot of in the mines? Gems. You know what there is a lot of? Finally, over 2 hours into this playthrough, I was able to craft my first gem staff. All that work for a weapon that is immediately outclassed by the first ranger weapon, which you can get by literally chopping down your first tree. Now I need to get armor so I can get 3-shot instead of 2-shot, but that requires me to go to the jungle and kill hornets for stingers. But I can't even kill a zombie with the topaz staff. Which brings me to the desert, where if an enemy even breathes on me too hard, I die. So I'm forced to go back to 2020 and practice some social distancing. Then I died. Again. But the reason I'm here is for the amber staff, which actually does more damage than the copper short sword, which is surprising for mage. But for this weapon, I need the extractinator, which requires me to explore the desert to find it. Mid-grinding, I found myself in the midst of a blood moon. This went just as you expected, with me dying a lot. Back in the desert, my death streak continued. Remember how I used a strategy to avoid all enemies? Well, tomb crawlers had other plans because I was getting completely abused by them. Then I died to sand. Yeah, I quit this game. Finally though, my suffering came to an end because I found the extractinator. Here's what I would be saying if this was any other class besides mage. I still needed fossils, so I died trying to get them. After tediously converting all my desert fossils into materials, I was able to craft the amber staff. Now that I had a viable weapon, I was finally able to go get some jungle armor. Scratch that. After losing my sanity to the jungle, I was just barely able to make it out with the materials I needed. Now I had the best armor I'm gonna have to hard mode before even killing a boss. Yeah, you can tell how poorly this is gonna go. Speaking of poorly, before I even had an arena set up, slime started falling from the sky. This fight went surprisingly well. I mean, I did get low a few times, but because of the power of a grapple and magic mirror, I was able to win. After reaching 400 max life, there was an evil presence watching me, so now I was forced to fight the Eye of Cthulhu. Oh, and I still didn't have an arena, by the way. This fight literally has nothing for me because I can't use the Shield of Cthulhu since it does melee damage, and this is a mage only run. This is the exact same reason I wasn't using the Chillet. Nonetheless, I still wanted to win this for the trophy, and low-key was shredding the eye. Wait, no, I lied. This boss has some cool shades I can wear! Weirdly enough, I was feeling kinda OP at this point, but trust me, this would be the first and last time this run that I felt like I wasn't playing mage. Now it was time to fight the Eater Worlds, aka a long worm. But you know what else is long? My subscribe button, so click it now! Click it, click it. I then became the first person ever to actually use purification powder, using it to dig out the arena. Unlike the King of Slime and Eye of Cthulhu, I desperately needed the arena for this boss, considering my history with worms. I also forgot to mention that I found ice skates, which would be crucial to movement in this run. Anyways, now I was ready to fight the Eater Worlds! With the Eater Worlds fight, I just focused on dodging and memorizing my new quick mana keybind, which is X. For buffs, I used the basics, Iron Skin, Speed, and Regen, but also had a Heart Lantern, Campfire, and Bass Statue from all the time I spent in the desert. After my mostly easy fight besides the end, I won. If you're wondering why I was in the corruption before when slimes were falling from the sky, that was because I was breaking shadow orbs in hopes of getting a vile thorn, which I finally ended up getting. I'm not even going to explain this weapon and let this clip speak for itself. I promise you though, that's the end of Mage being OP, which you're gonna clearly see in this next fight where I unfortunately challenged Skeletron. My genius self also forgot how to spawn Skeletron. I don't want to talk about it. After a long fought battle and getting over halfway into the night, I was just a tiny bit off from killing Skeletron. Then, to pour salt in the wound, the Goblin army was coming to kick me while I'm down. Now, because I'm so pro... Hey, stop it with those flashbacks! What I was trying to say is, because I'm so pro, I didn't die a single time during this Goblin Army invasion. Back to Skeletron, there was actually one upgrade I could get called the Space Gun. So after crafting an obsidian skin potion, I pulled the Gru, but instead of stealing the moon, I shoved the entire meteor into my pockets. I used the remaining obsidian skin potion duration to mine some hellstone for an eventual hellstone pick, which I needed in hard mode. Using the meteorite, I was able to craft the Space Gun. Now it was time to rescue the bound goblin so he could steal all my money and rip me off! After selling my soul to the goblin tanker for a good reforge, I went to working on the Skeletron arena. Finally, I was ready to take on Skeletron. I want to remind you this is Master Mode and I've only beaten Terraria once, which was in my last video on Expert Mode, where I destroyed an entire Terraria world. As per usual, I went for the hands first, then, after they dropped, it was just me versus the main skull. I was bad at dodging these cursed skulls, which became really evident. Nonetheless, Skeletron was finally defeated. I actually got the mage weapon from Skeletron, but to be honest, this weapon was kinda sucking. I also began to work on a podium to display all the relics I got this run, because I plan on getting all of them, including mini-bosses. For mage, there was another weapon I could get from Queen Bee, which is the bee gun. Essentially, I would make an arena, kill Queen Bee, then kidnap bees from the jungle and use them as ammunition for my gun. To continue the spirit of this boss rush, the next boss I went for was Deerclops. This fight went horribly wrong, but eventually I got the hang of it, memorizing his 3-move attack pattern. Finally, Deerclops was slain. Next on the list was making a potion farm because Mage has 2 potions that are extremely important, being Magic Power and Mana Regen. Because this is Mage, I can't just make a 5-minute crafts arena. Instead, I have to make a platform spanning across the entirety of hell for Wall Flesh. Also, I died to the Wall Flesh a ton last video, so I'm not looking to repeat that. I was having a really hard time making this arena because of how many hell enemies were swarming me. Like, you would think they were chaos slime with how obsessed they were with me. I died time after time, but progress was still chugging along. I also managed to get a demon scythe. Wait, wrong clip. Here is where I got the demon scythe. After about 3 hours of mindlessly placing blocks, I was finally finished. Now it was time to perform a human sacrifice to appease the Terraria gods. For this fight, I was equipped with every possible non-fishing buff. And no, I ain't reading all that. I'll just shove them all on screen with sound effects to appease the 0 attention span viewers. As for the fight, I just abused the hell out of the demon scythe. All jokes aside, the demon scythe was really masterful at piercing all the hungries and the wall itself. Okay, I swear I'll stop with the bad puns. Finally, the wall was defeated, no thanks to my legendary jokes. Okay, I'm done! Anyways, I got the Firecracker and Summer Emblem, which sucks. Now it's time to repeat the early game process in hard mode. Oh, look at the cool relic. My next weapon I needed was the Crystal Storm, which is extremely busted. For this, I need the Wizard.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the pickles in the jar first. That's what it was, yeah.
No, I mean the Terraria Wizard. Now that I had the Spell Tome, I needed Souls of Light and Crystals. So off to the Underground Hollow for me. This was a little painful if you couldn't tell. Don't you just love me? Finally though, after all the suffering, I got my 15th Soul of Light and crafted the Crystal Pepsi Storm. Then I got really lucky and got mythical on it. Next, I went on to breaking some demon altars and got swarmed by my own personal fan club of wraiths. Now, because I got a decent weapon, I took on the wall and cooked it. My scuff cooking got a bit worse. Hey, don't show that clip! I actually managed to get the laser rifle and sorcerer emblem. I'll spare you the journey of me mining. Then I got mobbed by the pirates. Behold, the worst class in Terraria. But no, I really did get curb stomped by them. I don't want to talk about it. On the bright side, I got a trophy. Yeah, I'm just grasping at straws here. Next, I went mining and crafted a full set of titanium armor. My armor was now good. However, I still needed 3 more weapons in my arsenal. And the first one I needed was the Sky Fractor, which requires light shards from the Hollow Desert. While waiting for the Hollow to spread, just like how I'm still waiting for Geomstaff to update, a thunderstorm occurred. So I went on to farm for the Nimbus Rod. After only about 10 minutes of farming, I got 2 light shards. After I got some Souls of Light, I was able to craft the Sky Fractor. The last weapon I needed was the Meteor Staff, which I was easily able to craft. I made a Charm of Myths from a Philosopher's Stone I found. I then decided to pull a Bob the Builder and construct an entire arena. Now I was ready for my first hard mode boss, being the Destroyer.
Holy!
This fight went, well, not the greatest to say the least.
Whoa, that went really bad.
Mage is so good, right y'all? Attempt 2. I actually ran into a unique problem. That's because the more damage I do, the more probes spawn, and with my little to none defense as mage, I just die instantly. Now, with a more passive strategy, it was time to take on the Destroyer. For my third attempt, I went for a slow burn strategy. This means I didn't want to do too much damage to the point where too many probes spawned for me to handle. My weapon of choice was the Meteor Staff and Nimbus Rod for their group damage, and since the worm had many segments, these weapons worked great. After an extremely close fight, I came out on top. Now that I won, I wanted to focus on the twins for next boss. Because of my lack of dashes, I got cooked by Spasmatism.
No!
Now, I can't use the Shield of Cthulhu because of the melee damage, so I had to use another way of dashing. I present to you the Queen Slime set bonus, which gives you a dash. So naturally, I fought the Queen Slime. This fight was just a bullet hell, to be honest. I used a Meteor Staff to damage the boss, because it attacks the minions as well. By the end of the fight, I was low the entire time, with me even dying as I killed the boss. From this, I managed to get a full set of gear. Now I was ready to rematch the twins. And I got wrecked. To be fair, this was a skill issue, so like Rocky, I began to train. Whoa, almost got copyrighted there. Now I was ready to cook the twins. And I lost by 55 HP. Great! So naturally, I tried again. Finally, the twins were defeated, with me now getting full hollowed armor. The twins also gave me a super OP weapon, being the Rainbow Rod. The final mech boss to defeat is Stellatron Prime. The Rainbow Rod's pierce was very useful here, and the homing attacks allowed me to focus on dodging. My Rainbow Rod's projectiles were homing to Stellatron Prime segments harder than scalpers to Pokemon cards. This fight was very straightforward and actually quite easy. With that, Skeleton Prime has been defeated, and the jungle grows restless. Now it's time to alter gravity like that one weapon from Sonic Forces. Instantly, I found the Celestial Shell, which makes the Celestial Emblem. Then I turned into a human drill containment unit. Or, in other words, I had one too many monster enemy drinks and melted the jungle for a Planetary Arena. Finally, the arena was finished. The next thing on the list was getting full Chlorophyll armor, which was easy because I found tons while life fruit hunting. After all this prep, I was ready to take on the giant angry plant. This fight was more Rainbow Rod spam. I was really loving this weapon due to its homing projectiles and high pierce. I also used my Nimbus Rod, which does minor damage at this stage of the game. For the second phase, I abused my Rainbow Rod high pierce to attack all the arms of the plant and finally slay her. The next items I need are Spectre Armor and the Paladin Shield, which are both found in the dungeon. Wait, did somebody say my name?
Say my name.
Dungeon Guard.
You're goddamn right.
I got the Paladin Shield and Tabby quite fast. I also managed to get a black belt. With these materials, I was able to craft Master Ninja gear. I also got enough ectoplasm for a full set of Spectre armor. The next item on my list was the Frozen Shield, which combines my Paladin Shield with a Frozen Turtle Shell. By the way, that Frozen Turtle Shell took me over an hour of grinding to get. I also finally made wings. I then spent 30 minutes on a truffle worm farm. This farm was extremely efficient. I then spent another 30 minutes building a Dukefish Run arena. My first attempt, I got to the third phase and died. Then I died again, and again, This time I got to 5k HP, which is progress, I guess. Never mind. Yeah, mage just sucks. This death is a perfect example of me dying due to having too low of an acceleration rate. One tapped. Don't want to talk about this death. Or this one. Wow, I'm really losing. This death ain't even fair. Ooh, I got the 3rd phase again. Oh hey, I got an achievement. I did not swim like a fish. Finally, I realized I ain't beat this boss as is, so I opted for more vertical acceleration. For this, I needed better wings and accessories. First, I went for a balloon. Then, I crafted the white horseshoe balloon. Now that I had my accessory, I needed a spooky twig for spooky wings. So on to fighting the pumpkin moon. I also crafted the spectre hood for this event. For my first night of the pumpkin moon, I got literally nothing I needed. The second night, I got the spooky twig and was able to craft spooky wings. Now it was time for my rematch against Duke Fishron. For this fight, I used my Rainbow Rod again because I'm too lazy to get a new weapon. The reason I'm fighting this boss is for the Razor Blade Typhoon and Fishron wings. The Typhoon will carry me up to the pillars, where then I'll use Pillar Loot for Moonlord. The 3rd phase is super long and was mad scary, but at last I won. I actually got really lucky getting the Bubble Gun and Duke wings. The Bubble Gun is great against Duke Fishron, and the new wing equals more flight, thus an easier fight. I then proceeded to get super unlucky on Duke Fishron drops. Finally, I got the Razor Blade Typhoon, and got Mythical on it. The next item on my list is the Stun Stone from Golem. Serena was quite easy to create, and you could see the effectiveness of Serena in the fight. Now it was time to take on Golem. This fight was just doing burst DPS, then switching to my hood when I got low, and repeating the process, till the boss was dead. After killing the boss a few more times, I opened the bags and got the Sunstone! I then summoned a Solar Eclipse to get a Moonstone and Neptune Shell. I then had all the materials I needed to craft the Celestial Shell. My next objective was to get the Soaring Insignia, which drops from the Empress of Light. So with nothing further to say, let's get go. And I choked. Okay, attempt 2. For this fight, I was focusing on dodging and letting my homing projectiles do their work. Whenever I got low, I would switch to my Spectre Hood for greater healing. Finally though, I came out on top and won. With that, I had all the gear I needed from Moonlord. Now it's time to take on the Lunatic Cultist. This fight was mega free as usual, and I just spammed my Razor Blade Typhoon to edge out the victory. After the death of the Lunatic Cultist, and successfully evading the Kool-Aid, wait, wrong cult leader. Anyways, it's pillar time! The first pillar I wanted to go for was the Nebula pillar, because this had the weapons I needed from Moonlord. My strategy for fighting the pillars was, instead of taking it head on, I would just run in for a second, then run away and fight new enemies that spawned. This strategy was slow, but it worked, and that's all that mattered. After finally defeating the pillar, I crafted a Nebula Blaze and Nebula Arcane. I then killed the Solar Pillar, Vortex Pillar, and Stardust Pillar. Now it was time for my legendary battle, the worst class in Terraria vs Moonlord. Okay, this for real is the attempt. From suffering without weapons, suffering in the desert, beating my first boss, beating the Wall of Flesh, slaying the mech bosses, suffering on Duke Fishron, all the way to fighting Moonlord. I present to you, attempting Terraria's worst class in Master Mode. Finally, I won, but I wasn't done yet. I still wanted the last Prism, Nebula Armor, and every relic in the game. So I killed Moonlord again, and now was able to get full Nebula Armor. Now all I needed was the last Prism, so I killed Moonlord again, and again, and again, and again. Wow, I'm unlucky. So I just kept killing him time after time, and I finally got the last Prism! Then I got mythical on it. I did the Frost Moon, killing the Everscream, Santa NKI, and Ice Queen. Next on the list was the Martians, where I needed to kill a flying sorcerer. This was quite easy with me of course winning. Then I fought the Frost Legion for funsies. Lastly fighting the Old One's army, killing the Dark Mage, Ogre, and finally having my epic 1v1 against Beastly. For Mage being the worst class in Terraria, sure it has low defense and not many good weapons pre-hard mode, but after entering hard mode, that's where Mage starts to shine. With that, I could finally rest. If you enjoyed, please subscribe because this video took forever to make, and if I hit 100 subs, I'll get every item in Terraria, which would take hundreds of hours. Okay, bye.